we got some snow out there today. Um, Trying to get on here a little earlier so I have a little bit more time to shovel out there. Um, but yeah, it's the snow is here up here in Canada South, everybody, and it's supposed to be snowy throughout. So um, it's here, and it's probably going to be here for the rest of the year until spring, mud season, right? Until mud season. So um, we've been in the study of satisfaction, and in order to be satisfied, we need to desire the things of God, and if we desire the things of God, and then we have peace, right? So where does our peace come from? Where does the satisfaction come from? And then it kind of turned into unrest. We started looking at unrest and rest, and now we're looking at reverence. Okay, we're looking at reverence, and Wednesday, I think it was, we looked at Exodus 3 and the burning bush moment, and um, God telling Moses, take off your shoes, for this is holy land, right? Um, and that was 3:5. Then he said, do not come near, take off your sandals, your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground, right? Is holy ground. So when we come into the Lord's presence, what's our response? When we come into the Lord's presence, what's our response? And so we have another scenario just like this, and just like when the Lord spoke to Moses, and he became God's vessel, or the leader to move God's people through the transition out of the slavery of Egypt. Um, as Joshua's taking over, he has a theophany as well. And in Joshua 5:15, we see kind of the same statement. He says, and the commander of the Lord's army said to Joshua, take off your sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy. And Joshua did so. So they're make their way up to Canaan, and the Lord shows up to Joshua, and he says, today I have rolled away the reproach of Egypt from you. And so the name of this place is called Gilgal, which that word is very similar to the word for roll, the Hebrew word for roll. And so that's he rolled away the reproach of Egypt. According to what? Yeah, we don't read that anywhere. Um, and so he rolled away the reproach of Egypt. Why? Right? Because Joshua was faithful in seeking the promise, right? In seeking the promise. And so when they get there, right, he rolls it away, and then they have the Passover meal. Okay. While the people of Israel were encamped at Gilgal, they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month of the evening on the plains of Jericho. And so they ate the food from the promised land. And so God, there's no more manna there. He stops bringing manna, and the people get to eat the fruit of the land that he had promised, because they walked according to the promise. Okay. When we walk according to the promise, what happens? That angel of death passes us by. We are under the grace of his blood, right? And so therefore we get to reap the benefits of the promise of obedience. And so while they're camped there, and by Jericho, Joshua lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, a man was standing before him with his drawn sword in his hand. And Joshua went to him and said, "Are you for us or for our adversaries?" He asked him, "Are you one of our soldiers or one of the enemy's soldiers?" Okay. And he said, "No." Right? That's the appropriate answer. No, I'm not any of them. Right? Verse 14. So when we are obedient, right, and we are walking according to the promise, we have somebody fighting for us. We have somebody fighting our battles for us, our spiritual battles. Somebody to roll away the reproach of slavery. Right? No, 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 not for me. And so um, there is somebody fighting our battles for us, and it is a spiritual battle. And make no mistake about it, there is a war going on, and our obedience, or our stance being subjected to God, is what wins that spiritual warfare. It's what draws the it's what um, it's the sword, right? It's the sword against the enemy. Our obedience to the Lord is the sword in his hand against the enemy. Okay. And he said, "No, I am the commander of the army of the Lord. Now I have come. Now I have come." Okay. Uh, when we're in obedience, he shows up. He shows up. And that's essentially what we need, right? We can't win the battle on our own, right? When we're proud and we're standing tall, we're actually at a loss. But when we're in subject to him and we're obedient to him, and we're in that humbled position by at his feet, he is wielding the sword for us. And then he says, "No, but I'm commander of the army of the Lord." No, I'm not one of your soldiers. I am the commander of the army of the Lord. And then it says, "Now I have come." And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshipped and said, "What does my Lord say to his servant?" When the Lord shows up, do we fall on our face in victory? See, I put a thumbnail up of a soccer player down face down in the mud in defeat, right? He just took a loss. But we lay face down in victory. Face down in victory. See, when we're in revering and fearing the Lord, we have the victory. He shows up and we win. And the commander of the Lord's army said to Joshua, "Take off your sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy." And what does Joshua do? It says, "And Joshua did so in obedience." And Joshua did so in obedience. Okay? And that's what we need to be. We need to be obedient. Even when the things he says for us to do seem insurmountable, even when there's an army behind a wall, we and we have to get through that wall, and he says to do it, we have to be willing to do it. Okay, now Jericho was shut up inside, this is chapter 6 verse 1, and outside because of the people of Israel. None went out and none came in. And the Lord said to Joshua, "See, I have given Jericho into your hand, with its king and the mighty men of valor." No matter if we're obedient, it doesn't matter um, how fortified the enemy is. It doesn't matter how fortified the enemy is. We have victory. He puts them in our hand. Then listen what he says. "You shall march around the city, all the men of war going around the city at once. Thus you shall do for 6 days. 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets, rams, horns, and on the seventh day you shall march around 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. And when they and when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, when you hear the sound of the trumpet," notice the sound of the trumpet. We're going to hear a sound of the trumpet in victory again. This points, even though this is way back then, it points forward to the upcoming victory. Uh, the sh- when you hear the sound of the trumpet, then all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat, and the people shall go up, every one straight before him. Okay, he gives us victory, both now and eternally. Okay, both now and eternally. He gave. So when we fall down in that submissive position to the Lord, right? He gives us the charge for victory, right? Victory over the adversary. Now, this should be the example for every every man, every father, every husband on how to lead their family to victory. Okay, how do you lead your family to victory? You do it from a humble position. What's going on, K Dog? What's going on? From a position at the Lord's feet. Okay, from a position at the Lord's feet, and that's how we men are supposed to lead our families to victory. Men, that's how we lead our wives to victory. Okay, that's we do it from a submissive leadership position, not submissive to our wives, submissive to our Lord, uplifting our families, uplifting our wives, bringing them to the Passover meal, bringing them to the promised land through whatever wanting to turn back comes, through whatever spirit comes to get in the way, whatever spiritual warfare the enemy tries to use. No, men, we charge forward in a humble position, obedient to the Lord, and we eat from the meal of the land. We eat from the meal of the land, and in that that um, the death, that spiritual and physical death that comes with it, will pass us over, right? It will pass our family over. It will pass our children over. And when we look up, he'll be standing there. That's the commander of the army of God. He is there. And now that's a theophany now. And that's I believe that's the angel of the Lord, myself, um, which is Christ himself. Okay. And so and just like the angel of the Lord spoke in the burning bush and told him to take off his sandals, I do believe this here is the same angel of the Lord. This commander of the army of the Lord, I believe, is the angel of the Lord, is Christ himself telling him to take off his sandals, for he is on holy ground. Men, do when Jesus comes before us, the commander of the army of the Lord, the voice from the burning bush, when he's before us and do and he tells us to take off our sandals, do we fall prostrate in reverence to him? Do we submit to him? I submit and come through. I can feel her being me to the Lord. I'm not sure I understand that, K Dog, but the the point is, when the Lord speaks, do we fear him? Do we fear him over the enemy? Do we walk in obedience, subject to him, in that prostrate, face in the mud position of victory, not loss? That's what it is. That's what it's all about. That's that's where we get the charge to um, take that land, take that ground, that spiritual ground. We take it back from the enemy, right? And um, the reproach, the reproach is rolled away in our obedience to the Lord. All right, you guys, I gotta go shovel a bunch of snow. You have a wonderful day. Grace and peace.